What in the world is God doing? We're his favorite people? This is how you love me? By allowing October 7th to happen? So every crisis, every disagreement, every hurt feeling is like a good opportunity to test the relationship. If you can make up and go back to being happily married, then your marriage is healthy. If it can't survive a crisis, wasn't that strong to begin with. The same is true with God. A year ago, we went through a crisis. So it turns out that the more, I mean, it's obvious, the more you teach, the more you learn. The more you teach, the better you understand what you think. Because you have to explain it and you have to. When you come up with an idea that is relevant to 79 million people, you're saying something. So I remember years ago, I was in England, and I got invited to give the 5-minute thought of the week for the BBC. So they take me into the studio, and this guy, the tech guy with a ponytail, he's setting up all the wires with the speaker, with the microphones, and he's muttering to himself, and he says, another bloke who thinks he can speak to 800 million people. BBC reaches 800 million people. And every week, they invite somebody to come and give a 5-minute thought. And every week, he thinks himself, what are you going to say to 800 million people? Are you kidding? Anyway, that week, the Rebbe had suggested that every organization, every company, every business that has employees, when they give the check at the end of the week, they should add a single dollar representing tzedakah. You're getting your check. You have what to eat. Think of somebody else. So I said that, and it didn't even take 5 minutes. I said that, and the guy said, I think you did it. Is that not relevant to everybody in the world? Half the world that gives the dollar and the other half that gets it. What else is there? So such a universal principle, you know that is emes. Because in the end, when the emes will prevail, what is it going to be? The whole world will be focused on one idea: getting to know God. So when you see an idea become popular with millions of people, including people from Africa, from Vietnam, from Germany, all of them listening to a rabbi, this is unprecedented. It's a crazy thing.
You have a lot of subscribers.
Not enough. Not nearly enough. So I want to tell you this idea that is it. There's no way to deny it. And it includes everyone in the world with immediate relevance. The issue is like this. Is life about what, or is life about who? Like, for example, marriage. What is marriage? Marriage is not a what, it's a who. It's not what are you going to marry, hopefully. It's who you're going to marry. Because you're marrying a who, not a what. But that is the essence of Yiddishkeit, the essence of Torah, and certainly the essence of Chassidus. Just a very simple example. We were talking about what it says in Tanya, that a tzaddik doesn't have a yetzer hara. And these people who are yeshiva people, they couldn't accept it. There's no such thing a human being has a yetzer hara. Everyone has an evil inclination. Everyone is tempted to sin. And I said, but not tzaddikim. He said, no, there's no such thing. Can't be. If you're human, in fact, the definition of human is you're sinful. At least in potential. Maybe you haven't gotten around to it yet. So here's a question. What's easier to believe and what makes more sense? That there's a human being who has no evil inclination and no yetzer hara, or that there is a human being who has a yetzer hara? What makes more sense? So it depends. If you start with the question of what is life? What is this world? What are we all about? You look around, most people are capable of sinning. If you're going to tell me that there is someone who is not capable of sinning, oh boy, you're going to have to explain that. Because that doesn't sound real. That's if you start off with the world and the world of what. But if you start off with who? Who created the world? You get a completely different picture. There was only God in the beginning. There was nothing besides him. Then he created stuff. What makes more sense? That what he created is like him, or that what he created is completely unlike him, maybe even anti-him? What makes more sense? If your child looks like you, do you have to explain anything? If your child doesn't look like you, you got to explain a little bit here. So you say a tzaddik is someone created by God who looks like God. What's your question? But there are people created by God who don't look like God at all. So, well, how do you explain that? So what's logical and what's illogical? How is it that human beings have an evil inclination, a yetzer hara? So there are volumes and volumes of explanation in Chassidus. According to the Arizal, there was a tzimtzum and God is hiding and he's obstructed and he's wearing a mask. All sorts of brilliant but kind of forced explanations. How does God hide? Where does he go to hide? So that has to be explained. Why does he hide? But if you say, no, there are some people who are just godly. Say, well, that needs no further explanation. So what's real, the godly or the non-godly? So our perception of reality is warped simply because of what we're used to, not because it makes sense. And there's a beautiful example for that, which is really something that makes you stop and think. Imagine you have 1,000 pieces of paper. 999 of those pieces of paper have the word yes on it. 1 out of 1,000 has the word no. Mix them all together, put it in your hat, and pick out one paper. And it's the no. You say, wow, that's weird. Put it back in, mix them all together, pick out a paper. It's the no. Again, that is very weird. Do it again, and you come up with the no. Now your mind is numb. You don't even know what to say anymore. You do this 10 times in a row, and 10 times in a row, you get the no. Now, you're going to do it the 11th time. What are you expecting?
Expecting yes, unless you have bias, past experiences. Yes, no, sure.
Okay, if 10 doesn't convince you, how about if you come up with the one, with the no, 100 times? And now you're going to do it 101 times. What are you expecting? Not only do you expect the no, if I suggest to you that it's going to be a yes, you're going to say, come on, be realistic. You're not being logical. I'm not being logical. There are 999 yeses and there's one no. And you're expecting the no. Who's being logical here? And yet, that's what habit does. If you come up with the no 100 times, you're absolutely convinced that you're going to get the no again, even though it makes no sense. Right? So I was like, wait, you still believe Mashiach is coming? He didn't come yesterday. He didn't come the day before. For 5,000 years, he hasn't come. Get real. He's not coming. No, he's coming. It makes more sense that he's coming than that he's not coming, even though we're so used to his not coming. Because we're talking about who. If you start with who, then the ungodly is the mystery, not the godly. So you say God created the world and it's been downhill ever since. That doesn't make sense. God created a world that is evil. How did that happen? And with all the explanation, God is hiding, God is concealed, there's a tzimtzum, there's... Okay, but it's still mysterious. But when you tell me here's a person who was created by God, he thinks like God, he feels like God, he looks like God, that's logical. That makes sense. The objective is that this world, through the internet and a little bit of Torah, the whole world is going to become like him, which is the way it should be. It's his creation. So it's like every woman eventually turns out to be like her mother.
How so?
I saw this sign on a mirror. On the frame of the mirror, it said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, I am my mother after all." When you become a mother and you have the stresses of a mother and you have to put up with a husband, you'll be pretty much like your mother. And that's good, because that's sanity. If everyone was different from their parents, there'd be no connection between the generations. We'd be totally insane.
You have to put up with the husband thing. I just want to know how hard is it going to be?
All right, but let me get to the point. Okay? Get distracted. So here's the thing. People are asking, if God is so perfect, which he must be, why would he create the world? If you're really perfect, you don't do things like that. In fact, you don't do anything. When you're perfect, you're perfect. Why would you do anything? Especially creating a world that's got problems and ugliness and darkness and what? Why? Almost anything you say, God did it for this reason, for that reason, whatever reason you come up with, it still contradicts the fact that he's perfect. There's only one good answer. What does it mean to be perfect? What does perfect mean? It means I don't need anything. I have and I am everything I need to be. So I am perfect. But does being perfect mean I don't need anyone? Because I'm perfect, I don't need anyone. That's completely unnecessary. That is not a necessary conclusion. If I need something, then I am not perfect. But if I need someone, why? How does that make me less perfect? Which means very simply, if I need something from you, then I am not perfect. But if I need nothing from you, I just need you, how does that make me imperfect? If I need something from you, let's say security, love, that means that I am missing love, and I'll get it from you, and then I'll be perfect. But until I get that love, I am missing love. Or I'm missing security. Or even I'm missing the mitzvah of being married. So I'm missing something. I'm not perfect. But if I don't need anything from you, I just need you, then what am I missing? You're missing. You are missing in my life. That makes me less perfect? I'm as perfect can be. But you're not there. So how does that make me less perfect? So now the big question is, if I am perfect, what does it mean that I need you? For what? The answer, no. Not for what. For who? Who do I need in my life? I need you. Why? What does that even mean? So this guy says to me, he comes from marriage counseling, and he says to me, I love everything about my wife. Which, of course, can't be true. Especially if you know his wife. It can't be true. But fine. He says, I love everything about my wife. I said, do you love her? He says, I love everything about her. I said, no, you're not answering the question. You love everything about her. Do you love her? He says, what does that mean? He doesn't know what that means. But we all know what that means. It means he doesn't love her. So the question is, what does it mean? If you take all things away and there's only a who, what is that? Why do you need a who? It sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. Hang on to that. Let me ask you another question. Torah says it is not good to be alone. Right? Not good to be alone? Is it not good to be alone? We're a little schizophrenic about this. Feeling alone is horrible. It's horrible. It leads people to suicide. But at the same time, I wish everyone would just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Yeah, but why can't you accept me for who I am? Oh, just leave me alone. Hey, make up your mind. Not only do I need you to accept me, I need you to accept me as I am for who I am. Otherwise, it's not good enough. You know what? Never mind. Leave me alone. Like, we're bouncing off the wall here. Like, is it good to be alone or is it not good to be alone? Torah says it's not good to be alone.
Like God made man alone. So obviously God wanted and he was for it.
I can barely hear you over the... There's a drone here somewhere.
Nah. Hashem, like at least maybe the second one. That man was alone for some time. So like everything I said best for the reason that man was alone for some time.
You know for how long? About 2 hours. Anyway, so the thing is like this. There's human nature and there's godly nature. Since we're created in God's image, we have certain things that don't really belong to the human condition. We have it because we're created in His image, and He has it, so we also have it. It's not good to be alone as a completely godly, divine instinct. The human part of us would much rather be alone. The human part of us is actually allergic to everybody else. A stranger comes into town, he disturbs everybody. So what? He didn't do anything. He shouldn't be here. Why? Because we're protective. There was Cain and Hevel and an empty planet, and they couldn't get along. So is it good to be alone? For human purposes, if I could be completely independent and self-sufficient, I would rather live on an island and never be bothered by anyone. I really would. And it would be wonderful. But there's something about us that is not quite human that makes it miserable to be alone. So to put it in blunt language, God created the world. You know what He did each day of creation. Then finally on the sixth day He creates Adam. And He says to Adam, it is not good for man to be alone. I'm going to create Chava. And the obvious question, which nobody asks, why the statement? God said it is not good to be alone, so I'll create Chava. Why do you have to say it? Just go ahead and create whatever you need to create. You don't have to justify yourself. And He didn't explain why He created the moon after He already had the sun. Go ahead and create whatever you want to create. What is the statement? God said it is not good to be alone because now that Adam exists, God has someone to talk to. And what is the first thing God wants to tell human beings? Why He is creating the world. So when God said it is not good for man to be alone, he meant himself. Adam Ha'elyon. And by the way, I'm putting that in you as well. So you're also not going to be content to be alone. What is wrong with being alone? Nothing. If you're perfect, there's nothing wrong with being alone. So that's why God didn't say, it's hard to be alone, I'll create you a helpmate. He didn't say hard. He said it's not good. Imagine you are absolutely perfect. Is that good?
You can't be kind if you want to be kind to, right? But you can't be giving if you're going to be giving. So I can be perfect if I can give.
Do you have a need to give?
You want to be perfect. That's like a theory.
No, but it's more like what you said before about colors. It depends for what. Is it good to be perfect? Good for what? We misread it because we're always thinking good means practical, helpful, enjoyable. It's not good to be alone means there's nothing good about being perfect. What's good about it? It's functional. It's very functional. If you're alone and self-sufficient, it's very efficient. But what's good about it?
So would Sadiqim have more of a need to be connected with the world than we do because they're closer to Hashem? If that's the case, why is it that we just have one rabbi that was so invested in the world, and throughout history there were lots of Sadiqim that were isolated, exiled?
What's the question? Why are they suffering?
That's why they're suffering. Why are they so disconnected from the world?
The tzaddikim who are disconnected from the world?
Sadiqim, the ones that were in exile.
That made them very connected to the world. They felt every pain and every problem and every, which for themselves they would never have felt that or suffered it. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Here's the point. God created the world not because he was missing something. Obviously, he's not missing anything. He created the world because there was no one besides him. Now, a human being would say, oh, that's perfect, don't mess it up. But God says, no, it's not. It's not. It's not even acceptable. But you're perfect. That's the problem. There's nothing good about being perfect. So really, when God says it's not good to be alone, he is literally saying, only me? That's it? Just me? That's it? Does not compute. It can't be just me. Well, why not? No reason. That's godly. Godly means it can't be just me. That's what marriage is. Marriage means I have everything. I don't need your help. I don't need your services. I don't need to get anything from you, but I'm just me. And that's not acceptable. Why not? The only word you can use to describe it is humility. I'm not enough, as perfect as I am. But with you, then I'm enough. That satisfies. That is an amazing thing. So when people have a problem, why would God create the world if he's perfect? The answer is because being perfect is a problem, not a compliment. Like, what do you say to someone who's perfect? What do you say?
Hi.
What's happening? Nothing. What's new? Nothing. What's gonna be new? Nothing. Perfect is like a dead end. It's over. It's an avodah zarah. The problem with worshiping an idol is that the idol is perfect. So the only thing you do with an idol is beg to be perfect like him, which of course is a dead end. So God created the world to have someone beside him. The only one word to use to describe that, and that is romantic. It's not a need for something. It's the feeling that I'm not enough, even if I'm perfect. That's how you marry. You don't marry for anything, because you're probably not gonna get it. So if you think you're marrying a guy or you're marrying a girl for this and that, and then it turns out you're not getting this, you're not getting that. Are you married? Perfect. Because it's not what, it's who. So if you're thinking of getting married and you're thinking, so what am I looking for? What am I looking for? A couch. A couch is a what. If you're looking to get married, you're not looking for what. You're looking for a who. Okay, now, if you really don't expect anything, you just want the who, someone besides you, why do you even bother dating? Just pick a who out of the phone book, the singles phone book, and marry a who. That's all you want is a who. Here's the danger. You go out to find the who, and you get hung up on what. That is the disaster. When you're dating, you don't know who you're talking to. It's a stranger. All you can see is what. So what is the point of dating? It's almost confusing. You go and you check out all the things about the person, and you're not marrying any of those things. You're marrying the person. Can you believe this? In the olden days, people didn't date. Their father married them off, and everybody was happy. We're so much smarter, we're so much more sophisticated, and we're so less happy. So how did that work? And why do we date? The same question. I mean, the parallel is absolutely perfect. God created us because he needed someone. So what's with all the mitzvahs? You got to do this, you got to do that. You wanted me. Well, you got me. What do you want from me? And that, by the way, is the biggest complaint in a relationship. What do you want from me? Don't answer the question because you're just going to get worse. Well, I just need you to be a little more like my mother. What do you want from me means why do you want from me? Why don't you want me? So what is with the mitzvahs? Okay, fine. Torah says a Jew who doesn't do mitzvahs, he's still a Jew. What does that mean? It means God still wants him. He's not getting much from him, but he has him. Why do we date? You're not looking to marry wealth, looks, character, family, but you check all those things out. Why? Because you want to make sure that none of those things are going to get in the way of having her or him. So if everything about your wife is perfect, now you can really connect to her. If everything about your husband checks out, now you can ignore all those things and just connect to him. So when you're dating, you're not looking for the biggest, the best, the strongest. You're looking for a person whose shtick, whose things don't annoy you. They won't prevent you from connecting to the person. That is the secret of marriage. You marry a who, not a what. We spend way too much time on what. So, forget the what. The question is only who. Forget the who. It's already been decided. Who you're going to marry has already been decided. So what's the point of worrying about it? So now the question is not what, it's not who, it's where. Where is he? Where is she? And that's not even the question either. He is where he is and she is where she is. The question is only when. When already?
How?
How?
Why?
How are we going to meet? So really, realistically, not ideally or religiously, realistically, stop worrying because you're worrying about the wrong thing. If you're worried about what is he going to be like, it doesn't matter. He's going to be your husband. You're worrying about who your husband is going to be. It's already been decided. You're worrying about when the time comes. Trying to predict when is like trying to predict when Mashiach comes. So the only thing you should worry about, and this is, it sounds funny, but it's true. The only thing you should think about is when you marry the person who is meant for you to connect to and become united with, what are you going to do to him? What are you going to do to her? Are you going to make her life better or are you going to make her life harder? That's the only question that you need to ask because it's the only thing you can do something about. The other secret in marriage is whoever marries you, you have to feel pity. Real pity, rachmanus. Because being married to you is not easy, to put it mildly. I mean, is that not true? Because look, it's like this. If you're a tzaddik, you know how hard it is to be married to a tzaddik? It's almost impossible. If you're a Rasha, you know how hard it is to be married to a Rasha? And if you're a Beinani, that is so confusing. You don't know what to expect tomorrow. So who is it easy to be married to? Nobody. So the person you're going to marry is the person you are supposed to be married to, because your neshamas are connected, because it is the person. It's the person. It's the who. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. How could it be easy to be married to you? And if you think it's going to be easy to be married to you, you don't know you. It's not easy. It can't be easy. If you're a really, really nice person, it's so hard to be married to you. If you're not a nice person, is it hard to be married to you? So there's no way. The first thing you have to feel towards the person you're married to is pity. If you have no rachmanus, the relationship will not get off the ground. So under the chuppah, quietly, the chassan and the kala should say to each other, I hope you know what you're getting yourself into. You know who you're marrying? It's not going to be easy. So you got to start off with rachmanus. That's otherwise known as menschlichkeit. Because if you don't have rachmanus on the person who marries you, you're an insensitive creature. If you do have rachmanus, there's a chance that this is going to be a really beneficial relationship. Okay, now get back to God. God just wants you. He doesn't need anything from you because he's perfect. He's romantic, so he needs you. But he already has angels. Why is that not enough? In order to not be alone, you need another someone. An angel is not another someone, it's just more of him. Because the angel doesn't have free choice. So if you had a clone of yourself, you would still be alone. In order to not be alone, God has to create people with free choice. Now we understand why free choice is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? Free choice means I can choose the wrong thing. What's good about that? We're proud of the fact that we have free choice. No, you should be ashamed. The reason God gave us free choice is because he wants us beside him. If we don't have free choice, there is no one beside him. Or in different words, he wants us to love him. But if he makes us love him, then he's just loving himself. He can't have our love unless we can refuse to love him. Then when we choose to love him, it's our love. And that's why we have freedom of choice only in our relationship with him. Other than that, we have no free choice.
Nothing has free choice.
Yeah. How to love. So what's with the mitzvahs? This is absolutely crucial. If you're raising children in a Jewish home, you want your kid to make a bracha, you want your kid to keep Shabbos, you want your kid to keep kosher. The kid is thinking, why do you want all these things from me? Am I not good enough? Just me? Every kid thinks that. And every kid that rebels, other than the ones who are hurt and abused, but every kid that rebels is because you care more about the religion than about me, so I hate you. Does God care more about our religiosity than about us? Obviously not, because we are very often not religious. So here's what the mitzvah is. God is saying, I need you beside me. If you exist, then I have someone beside me. But I don't want you against me. I want you with me. With me, then I really have you. If you're not with me, I need you, but I don't have you. So what are the mitzvahs? 6 days of the week you should work, and on the 7th you should rest. Why? Because 6 days God creates the world, and on the 7th day he rests. Well, good for him. What does that have to do with me? It's so obvious. God is saying, I create during the week, you should create during the week. Be by my side. When I go out to plow the field, come out with me and plow the field with me. But on Shabbos I rest. So rest with me. Let's stay on the same page. So that not only do I need you to be, I need you by my side. So every mitzvah, the entire Torah, is almost like a GPS. It tells you where God is on every issue at any moment, so that you can be there with him. When he's creating, create with him. Don't sit on a mountaintop and meditate, because that's not what he's doing. When he is resting, rest with him. When he is being Pesachdik, be Pesachdik with him. When he's putting on tefillin, put tefillin with him. When he hates pork, hate it with him. Stay on the same page. But if you're not on the same page, he still needs you. He just doesn't have you. So if you're sitting by the Shabbos table and your child refuses to come to the table, what upsets you about that? That your kid is not Shomer Shabbos? Then he's going to hate you. But if what bothers you about it is that you don't want to be sitting at a Shabbos table without him or her, then they will sit by the table. So that's what happens. A Jew who is not keeping mitzvahs, does God need him? Yes. as much as he needs the guy who is keeping mitzvahs? Maybe a little more. That's what marriage means. I have you. But can we be on the same page? So that I can have you by my side, not against me? So the way we treat our relationship with God is how we're going to treat our marriages. And the way you treat your marriage is the way you're going to treat your relationship with God. So I'm talking to this guy who spends his entire life learning and davening and being frum. He's got 9 children. He's still in yeshiva. He sits in kollel, completely devoted. I ask him, who are you serving when you do all these mitzvahs? For all practical purposes, he said, I'm serving my best needs. This is how I can become the greatest me. He said, aren't you serving God? He says, nah, God doesn't need anything. I said, oh, do I pity your wife? He says, what? You have no idea what a relationship is. You have no idea that your wife needs you. So how do you treat the marriage? However it's best for you. Because that's how you treat your Yiddishkeit. If you don't know who, then you don't know anything. Make sense? How real is your relationship with your husband or wife? You won't know until you go through your first crisis. When he gives you a reason to not like him anymore, this is going to determine whether your marriage is strong or not strong. So every crisis, every disagreement, every hurt feeling is like a good opportunity to test the relationship. If you can make up and go back to being happily married, then your marriage is healthy. If it can't survive a crisis, wasn't that strong to begin with. The same is true with God. A year ago, we went through a crisis. What in the world is God doing? We're his favorite people? This is how you love me? By allowing October 7th to happen? People were predicting that Yiddishkeit is going to suffer. People are going to drop out. People will become much less observant, much less frum, much less Shema mitzvahs. And what actually happened is the opposite. Our relationship with God is very real.
What about addiction abuse and adultery? What about you're talking about marriage crises and going together, making the marriage stronger? asking, what about abuse, adultery, and addiction?
There are heroic people who went through all of that, and somehow they're happily married. But not everybody can do that. And that's why God created divorce. So divorce is not a sin. It's just a tragedy. But let's talk about healthy people, not remedial. But it is really amazing. Exactly a year ago, we had a good reason to not sit in a sukkah. Here we are. We're sitting in a sukkah. If God is not impressed by that, all these soldiers singing, dancing. A month ago, I was in Israel. I went to the Kaisel. The happiest people there were the soldiers. They're davening, the singing, the dancing. And they're on their way back. It's not that their service is over. They're going back. I don't know what it is. We're not normal. We're absolutely not normal. I guess we're chosen or something. And the world is noticing, by the way. Even the enemy is noticing. These people are not normal. Not to change the subject, but anybody keeps up with these things, how many rockets have fallen on Israel in the last 17 years? Any idea?
20,000.
More. How many years?
17. Since we left Gush Katif.
2050?
No, it's just shocking. It's shocking. In the last 17 years, almost 40,000 rockets. How many people died from those 40,000 rockets?
Thanks.
Not one. Not one. Every single day for the last 17 years, the report in the news was a rocket landed in whatever, and no casualties reported. It's like a mantra. No casualties reported, as if that's normal. So people start to think those rockets, they're not real. They're like toy rockets. The miracles they're mind-boggling. Like splitting the sea was a big miracle. What did it last? A couple of hours? This is unbelievable. Yesterday, 160 rockets came out of Beirut. I heard the news last night. At this up to this moment, no casualties have been reported. This morning, no casualties. 160 rockets. This is not Hamas. You can say Hamas has old rockets. They can't shoot straight. Even if you can't shoot straight, how do you miss a country? What? You can't miss the side of a barn. How do you miss a country? Okay, so now rockets are coming from Hezbollah, who are sophisticated. Their rockets are just as ineffective. Now people start to think, well, Israel has a very good defense system and we shoot down all those rockets. Yeah, well, one of them landed on Netanyahu's house. Guess what? No casualties reported.
And he wasn't home.
He wasn't home. Are we the chosen people or what? So people say, well, why doesn't God do any miracles anymore? Right. Are you listening to the news? The enemy must notice because they're so frustrated. How many rockets do we have to fire? So they are puzzled because it's so obvious that God is doing this, and the Jews don't say it. They never hear from a Jew because they only hear from secular. The Jews don't realize God is doing this? Only we realize? Can you tell everyone? Let everyone know that we have an incredible relationship. We were chosen to let the world know. We say it in the Olenu. Every tefillah, every davening, every Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv, Yom Tov, Shabbos. The conclusion is the world should know. And it's our job to let them know.
How do we let them know?
We're spread all over the world for a reason, so that everywhere in the world we have an opportunity to let the locals know about our experience at Mount Sinai, and that it's our job to share the Torah with the rest of the world, so that they know who God is and what God wants and how to serve Him. So one final thought. Something unique is happening today in the world. Until very recently, the issue in the world was, since Adam and Chava, the issue in the world has always been, do you believe or don't you believe? And if you believe, do you believe in the real God or do you believe in idols? If you believe, you're a good guy. You don't believe, you're a bad guy. Today, the non-Jewish world is very, very interested in what Judaism says. But they're not asking to believe in God, who is God, why is God. That is not the issue anymore. The issue today is, how do we serve Him? When people get online, their question is not, how do you know there's a God? The question by the non-Jews is, you serve God by keeping Shabbos, keeping kosher, you have Rosh Hashanah. How can we serve God? That's all they want to know. This is Mashiach symptoms. The world wants to know how to serve God. And the best example or experience of that was, I'm talking to this guy, very arrogant. He says, there is no God, I don't believe in God. The whole thing is, and he got his own theory about it. So when he finishes, I said to him, that's really sad, because God is actually waiting for you to put on tefillin. He says, Really? I can actually do that for him? Now I'm interested. Do it for whom? For the God you don't believe in? Forget belief. I can serve him? I'm interested. The world wants to serve. They don't want to debate what you believe or don't believe. It's not interesting. Tachlis. The only reason I would believe in a God is if that's my purpose, if that's why I was created, if that's what I can do to serve, because otherwise I don't know why I'm here. If he needs me to be with him, and if he tells me how I can do that, then I know why I'm here. I don't even believe in God. And it doesn't matter. If he needs me, it's real. Or in different words, you know what believing in something means? If you really believe in something, it means that it's true whether I believe it or not. Right? Isn't that what belief means? So if it's true whether I believe it or not, then I don't believe it, but I want to serve God. It's never happened before in history. Our history was that we lost our faith and we regained our faith. We believed in whatever, the Avodah Zarah in Mitzrayim, then we went back to serving Hashem. Eliyahu said, make up your mind. Do you believe in Baal or do you believe in... So it was always believe, don't believe. Okay, we'll believe, we don't. It's never before been a situation where the average guy in the street wants to serve whoever God is. Never happened before. That is definitely a Mashiach symptom. So our opportunity to be a light to the nations has never been as urgent, as welcome, as necessary, and as doable, because we have YouTube. We had a guy come online once a week from New Guinea. New Guinea is basically a jungle. He comes online every week, and then one week he says, and he speaks a perfect English, he says, to get to where there is service, internet service, I have to walk 8 hours. He walks 8 hours, listens to an hour program, walks back 8 hours to share what he heard with the villagers. Everybody else online said, wow, we're going to get together, buy you a bicycle. He says, the roads that I have to walk on can't use a bicycle. It's jungle. It's not paved roads. In the jungle, people want, in the jungles of New Guinea, where the cannibals were a generation ago, they want to know how to serve. They're not asking whether they should believe in God. They want to know how to serve God. They want to hear it from a Jew. In New Guinea. Anyway, last year, this guy who stopped attending the program lets us know that he put up a building in New Guinea. It's called the Center, I forget. Anyway, it's a place for learning Torah. He's the teacher. This is what's going on in the world. So when people say, isn't it arrogant to think of yourself as the light to the nations? Is it arrogant? Not arrogant. It's so humbling. My job is to teach you. I'm here to serve you. That's arrogant? You know, those people who need a safe place, everything is offensive to them. But it's not. It's not offensive at all. It's the exact opposite. But like saying, God created the world because he doesn't want to be alone. That's so selfish. What? He doesn't want to be alone is selfish? What are you saying? Without you, he's not happy. With you, he is. That's called selfish? So, anyway, we have to be absolutely thrilled with our mission. Because if you're not thrilled, you're not effective. If you do what you do besimcha, everybody wants to hear more. If you do it serious and nobody wants to hear, no matter how brilliant it is. That's why the people who come on the tour, all sorts of people, Mormons, Amish, Germans speaking German. What blows them away is you have a sophisticated lifestyle and you love it. You know why you exist and you love it. I want to eat what you're eating. I want to have what you're having. Because nobody else has either a real understanding of life, or if they do have an understanding of life, it's miserable. Life is hard, life is difficult, life is... Anyway, we got to literally fix the world because the world is asking to be fixed. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. These ideas, these messages, this approach to life, this approach to Torah, to meaning, and to morals is vital for the world today. And we need to get this message out to the entire world. It is universal, it's essential, it's indispensable. To support this effort, if you want to be a partner in this crime, check out the link and make a donation. It really helps a lot. And thank you in advance.